According to a report by the Financial Institutions Training Center, in the first quarter of this year, the amount involved in mobile fraud, while POS fraud was also increasing as well. What we've seen in the corresponding increase in the number of fraud cases is that there's an increase in mobile money cases. There are an increase in fraud as well, especially after the implementation of the Central Bank of Nigeria's naira redesign strategy. Now, leading fintech companies stepped in to bridge the gap after the naira redesign policy, and now three of them account for the largest share of mobile money agents in the country, with around 113 million customers. The drive to include more unbanked Nigerians is finally gaining momentum, with fintech companies driving aggressive acquisition strategies. But experts say it also comes with high cost, especially the kind that leads to people losing their money. Risk consultant Kikelomo Shodeko joins me now to look at this. Hello, Kikelomo. Welcome to Business Edge. Thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, good morning. And it is Shodeko, not
Okay.
Shodeke. Thank
Shodeko,
you.
apologies for that. Thank you so much. Now, the numbers we have for mobile money fraud is what is reported. And as the case is everywhere, we know that what is reported is not always the number of what is actually happened. So, in terms of starting off this conversation, just how prevalent is mobile money fraud in Nigeria? What are the current trends around it?
The interesting thing is, before we can even talk about the mobile money fraud, we should understand that in itself, banks have been, there've been fraud also in the banks, right? So the mobile money is just making the system a bit faster, you know. Unlike before, when maybe there are the procedures you have to follow with the banks. Now with mobile money, you necessarily don't have to. All you need to do is talk to an agent, and the agent is able to transfer money right there and then, or you just do that via your phone, and so on and so forth. So the increase, like you said, it's enormous. The number of fraud that is being recorded with this type of things is enormous. And you know, you still have situations where people are being robbed, and the ATMs are taking, and they use POS to actually retrieve their money, clear their accounts, and so on and so forth. So the crisis or the incidents are not just on fraud basis, but if we look at it on a global scale, we can consider robberies. Also, we can even say police officers also stopping young people and getting money from them. So the problem is across board. So not just fraud in itself, because looking at fraud alone just reduces the case. But by the time we look at it in the armed robbery sense, and also the causes by police officers also against the young people, that broadens the whole spectrum completely. Thank you.
So let's look further at this FITC report. So it found that in the first quarter of 2023, the amount involved in mobile fraud increased by 17.85% from 938 million, crossing into the 1 billion naira threshold, while the POS fraud amount involved increased from 241 million to 450 million, and that was an 86.7% increase. So mobile fraud also saw the second highest reported cases in the quarter at over 4,000, almost 5,000 in fact, compared to computer web fraud, which recorded just over 5,000 cases. With more people getting into the mobile money market, what is it about mobile fraud? I want us to focus on that, and POS fraud that seems to make it so easy to perpetrate this kind of fraud in particular.
Yeah, it is very easy because in this case, agents just have a POS machine, or your money is already on the move. So, okay, so with quick system of transferring funds makes it easier for any kind of fraud. Now, let me point out that other countries, let's say, for example, the Francophone countries have mobile money system, right, attached to their number. But us in Nigeria, there is always a loophole. And that number skyrocketed with the decision of the central bank earlier in the year, where we had shortage of cash, where we had the decision to change the currency and all those things. So that decision, the pretext was that it's going to reduce fraud, but at the end of the day, it increased fraud. We had the mobile money officers taking advantage of that period of time, increasing the number of the amounts that they demanded from customers that needed cash and also that needed transfers. So at that point in time, speed is what people were looking for. People didn't like the idea that whenever they transferred money from their normal banks, from the financial institutions, it took a lot of time before it appears. But when we consider the other types of the mobile money sector, where the other types of banks existed, we saw that it's fast. You know, you said immediately the money is being sent, it's ongoing, and immediately it's sent is just like that. So it's a very, very quick easy way for money to move from one person to another without you even having a trace if you are not careful. So yes, that's the reason. The speed is the reason why there is an increase in the fraud of that type of situation. And when the money is gone, it can't be traced, as the case may be, or it can be traced and the banks are unable to retrieve it back for you because in this case, it was taken directly from your account. Thank you.
And it's that same speed that has actually been the selling point. But let's talk about this in terms of the impact, because sometimes people will feel like it's just them as an individual. There was a time where I was with my ATM card and I was getting deductions that my card was being used in South Africa. And when I contacted the bank, they were asking me, "Did you give the account the PIN?" And I'm like, even if I give the PIN, the card is with me. But I felt like one individual who had lost my money. So, in terms of mobile money fraud and the impact on individuals and businesses, as well as the wider economy, what are we looking at? What are the financial losses or even the social economic implications that result from these fraudulent activities?
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's why I started off with in the beginning that the fraud is not just mobile money. It means that we are casting aspersions on the quick system already from the bank. If you have your ATM with you, how did they get access to your data to be able to withdraw your money without you even accessing? Like your card is with you, they don't have access to your card. So there is a lot of lacune in the security of both banks and the mobile money sector. So I can tell you for free that there are many people in the cybersecurity sector that tells us how open most of even our major financial institutions, their backends are. So these fraudsters are able to access our data without us even knowing it. So they access your data, access your card, access your PIN, and they're able to do as they please with the cards. Yours is not the first incident, and sadly, it will not be the last. We've been having this incident even before the mobile money market came. I can tell you as far back as 08, 09, a friend of mine had the same issue with one of the big banks. Our card was with her, and they were withdrawing the money in another part of the world, right? So it's not a new thing. It's not that it's a new phenomenon. The difference now is because the mobile money sector is faster, it makes it easier and faster to withdraw your money without a trace. Thank you.
So, Kikelomo, where is regulation in all of this? What about the regulatory measures or the guidelines that are supposed to be in place to prevent and combat mobile money fraud in Nigeria? And I'm going to go ahead and add to the fact that another recent report found that many of the banks that want to take on these fraudsters when they are caught prefer to go to the EFCC rather than to the financial regulators, as stipulated in the guidelines for fraud. And there are two guidelines, I believe, that particularly work for fraud. That's the NIBSS Industry Fraudster SLA, which provides guidelines for respective operators, and the Circular on Regulatory Framework for BVN watch list for Nigerian financial systems. So where's the regulation? Then why are we seeing banks preferring to go to the EFCC over reporting these cases, or at least attempting to get some closure for the clients and customers through the regulatory authorities? Hello, Kikelomo. Oh, wow, looking like some technical difficulties there. And if I was a conspiracy theorist, I might think it might be something more. But we'll see if we can get Kikelomo back before we finish this conversation, because the fraud incidences in Nigeria are rising as more and more people are getting involved in the mobile money markets. And we're seeing a shrinking of the financial inclusion situation that's also leaving more and more people open to the risk involved. And that risk is the fact, of course, that the fraud is growing. Kikelomo, I believe you're back with me now.
Yes, I am. Yes,
Did
I
you
am.
catch
So
my question, or
basically,
should I
the
take it
same,
again?
yeah, yeah, I did get it. So basically, what is happening is the same quick way people want their money to be sent or received is the same quick way the banks are approaching to the EFCC. You know, they want the strong arm. They want the quick efforts to arrest whoever is involved. So hence the reason they rush to the EFCC. And thus far, we know how the EFCC has been able to work. You know, they come in 1 a.m. to capture people in their houses. Even sometimes, if you're not involved in fraud, you are caught unaware. So it's that speed also. So the same way they want their monies to be withdrawn and sent quickly and receive their money quickly is the same way the banks are also approaching EFCC for a quick response to their problems. So they feel that the guidelines that have been placed by the regulatory body is maybe too slow, and so it might not quickly catch or apprehend the people involved. Hence, the reason they rush to the EFCC, who certainly bypasses all those bureaucratic system and all those steps and guidelines to capture whoever, and most times they are innocent, if I might add. Thank you.
That's interesting. So I want to quickly look at the factors driving this massive spike in fraud in financial services. So reports are saying we're looking at corporate control lapses, lack of harmonized databases for fraudulent individuals across the industry, emerging payment channels, some of these fintechs, and the drive for financial inclusion, sophisticated hacking techniques, and lack of both penalties from both corporates and law enforcement for offenders. And that, of course, lends itself to the last point you just made. It would seem that a big part of the problem is that our existing payment systems are not designed to handle today's huge number of transactions, or that even clever tricks the fraudsters use, or they just seem to be ahead of the curve. So how do we fix this, Kikelomo? How do we make it safer for people? We want more people to be able to use the financial system, to be able to do KYC and trust that their information and their data is safe with their financial institutions and financial providers. But what they're seeing and what they're hearing is quite a different story. There's almost no fintech you go to their social media account right now that there's not some complaint of someone whose money has disappeared. So how do we fix this for clients? How do we fix this for customers?
So first and foremost, this buck stops at the financial institution. If you want me to trust you with my money, you have to be able to assure me that all my details are safe in your hands. And I can tell you, I hope this is an opportunity for those that are in the big markets, in the banks, to listen again. It is of utmost importance that when people tell you there's a loophole in your defenses, when cybersecurity managers, cybersecurity analysts tell you there's a loophole in your defenses, hire them, get them to tighten up all your loopholes, and make sure that all the information of your customers are kept safe. I don't believe that we even have enough in our banking system for it to be a problem for our banks. I believe we have very brainy people across board. So therefore, it's very, very critical that all the banks, all the financial institutions take cybersecurity analysts very seriously. Like that is the first thing they should think about. How do I provide care and make sure that all the information, all the different levels of security that should be with every information a customer has given me should be there. And until that is done, this will continue. 1, 2, of course, we have hackers always trying to get ahead of the times, get ahead of the security system that is existing in any situation. But it is of utmost importance that we hire the right type of security analysts that will be able to back up and make sure that these types of things don't occur anymore. And lastly, please, please, and please, I do want to also tell the customers, be very careful with how you share your information. Don't click links because they sent you a link. Don't call numbers that send you SMSs. It's of utmost importance that you keep your information at your own best interest to yourself. But the buck will stop at the banks that are collecting the money to keep, because the charges are too high for people to be losing their monies. Thank you.
And it's like you had a crystal ball, because my last question was really to have you give some advice to customers out there on how they can keep their funds safe. Be careful of clicking on links. Be careful of how you share your information as well. There are a lot of things that with many apps and things people download, just by agreeing, you've already given away some of the control of your information that you have. But I think there's a conversation we will continue another time. Kikelomo, Shodeko, thank you so much. Risk consultant, as we looked at the rising number of fraud cases, as we're even seeing more and more people getting involved in the mobile money markets. We appreciate your time today. So it's a conversation that I hope you've taken 1 or 2 things away from. Yes, the buck stops at the table of the corporations and the businesses that say, bring your money, we'll keep it safe. But we all as customers can do 1 or 2 things to also tighten up security on our end. And I look forward to having Kikelomo back as well. We'll continue to keep our eyes on the situation in Kenya and see if the IMF does grant that exceptional access request. Those are our main conversations for today. We also brought you African and international business headlines. And now you'll be getting news at the top of the 12 o'clock hour. News Central now will be coming your way 12 p.m. West African time, which means it's time for me to go. Thank you so much for joining me on Business Edge today. Follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. I'm Tolulope, Adeleru-Balogun. Have a fantastic day.